Every gambler knows that the secret to surviving,
I don't wanna take advice from fools.
You always won every time you placed a bet.
Money, that's what I want.
Joe Duffy, CEO of OffshoreInsiders.com. I'm going to talk about how in gambling pet peeves, there are actually sports handicapping lessons in that. You hear it all the time. A sports announcer will say, so-and-so upset so-and-so, and it actually wasn't an upset. The team that won was the favorite. In a very analogous situation, I follow a lot of sports book directors on Twitter, Vegas and offshore. And let me quote Todd Furman, a well-respected Las Vegas bookmaker, who says, "I'm not a bracketologist, but to hear the talk of Georgetown as potential #1 seed is laughable. They'd be dogs at least 15 times. That's completely irrelevant. Nobody cares. Rankings and seedings are a lag indicator. Point spreads are a lead indicator. You know the old FDIC saying that past performances are not indicative of future results? Certainly the same thing applies to sports handicapping. The rankings and ratings are about how a team has performed to date. But there is a handicapping lesson. Regular clients of ours hear us say use the oddsmakers' knowledge against them. There are some examples. Now, by the way, think about this. Let's just say I'm a judge in a boxing match. The guy who I'm convinced is the better fighter, and everyone's convinced is the better fighter, gets his tail whipped. Am I supposed to, as a judge, give the fight to the guy who actually won the fight, or the guy who I think was the better fighter and would be favored in a rematch? Of course, you give it to the guy who has performed better. And that's the difference between the rankings and the ratings and the point spread. Now, there is an old adage about betting on an unranked favorite over a ranked team. We say that's analogous to the old zigzag theory. There's a lot of truth behind it. It's not completely false, but it's definitely not completely true. There is a modified version that is very true. The louder the statement, or to the square player, maybe the more counterintuitive the statement that the odds maker is making, go with it. So let's take that. All cases of that are not weighted equally. We weigh everything, every piece of evidence that we have, we weigh accordingly. So if a team is the number 23 team in the country and they're only a 1-point underdog, that's not a quote-unquote very loud statement. But conversely, if you have a top 10 team that is a 3-point underdog, that's a more emphatic statement being made by the odds makers. And we listen to what the odds makers are telling us. It's happened quite often in 2012 and 2013. There was an unprecedented 4-day period where 4 top 12 teams were underdogs to an unranked team. In all 4 cases, the favorite won and covered. January 30th, Oregon to Stanford. January 31st, number 10, Butler to St. Louis. February 2nd, number 6, Syracuse was an underdog to Pittsburgh. And the same day, number 12, Oregon to Stanford. Recently, and again, this is another one of our evergreen videos where if you're watching this in 2016, a lot of the theories are so applicable. But a contemporary reference, just about a week ago, as we record this, Duke was the number 3 team in the country, yet they were an underdog to Virginia. Guess what happened in all the examples? The favorite covered. 2 of our biggest bowl picks in the 2012-2013 season was Florida State over Northern Illinois, and our game of the year, all the years I've been in the business, never had a game of the year on the BCS championship game, but our game of the year was Alabama over Notre Dame. Among the reasons were a very piece of strong evidence of using the odds makers' knowledge against them. Those 2 losing teams, Northern Illinois and Notre Dame, are the 2 longest winning streaks in the country. Both teams had won 11 straight. Obviously, in the case of Notre Dame, they were actually undefeated. Yet both were double-digit dogs. Now, I know Notre Dame, 9.5, 10-point underdog. Both were substantial underdogs. Both cases, the favorite blew out the underdog and covered easily. And here is one of the best angles in sports, at least when it comes to winning percentage-wise. When you have a very rare case, it happens in college basketball, it happens in college football, it just does not happen all that often. But when you have a lower-ranked road favorite over a higher-ranked home team, betting the road favorite has literally hit about 85% of the time. And I've been in this business since the 1980s. And percentage-wise, as far as pure winning percentage, one of the better systems out there. But again, the more emphatic the system, the stronger. We've seen a couple cases. Oklahoma in 2011, I guess it was a road favorite at Kansas State. But the truth is, in one poll, they were actually lower ranked. In the other poll, they were more highly ranked, but they were a prohibitive favorite. So again, the more loud or more emphatic the statement is, the bigger the difference is in the ranking, and or the bigger the point spread, the stronger play it is. And this is coming from somebody who, as a general rule of thumb, has been a dog player over the years. But in this case, I am actually telling you to pick the favorites. Other cases of that, when a team, especially in the NBA or in college basketball, when teams are in elongated winning streaks and they're posted as underdogs, again, a great play to fade. Another case where a team is a favorite even though they're in a long losing streak, better to listen to what the odds makers are telling you. There is a reason they are the favorite. Now, how long is long? Again, the longer the winning or losing streak and or the higher the point spread, the stronger the play becomes. So when you hear people say, listen to what the odds makers are telling you, that's pretty generic, but I wanted to give you some very specific circumstances. Even earlier this year, 2012, 2013, the LA Clippers had a 16-game winning streak, 16-game winning streak, and they were pick'em against, I believe it was Golden State. Well, guess what? The winning streak was snapped. So when we talk about using the odds makers' knowledge against them, there are very specific examples, and quite frankly, we weigh these pretty heavily, especially if you're talking about a very highly ranked team or a big favorite. Very strong cases of using the odds makers' knowledge against them. And we do it at God's Tips, which is the anchor of offshoreinsiders.com. Visit us each and every day at offshoreinsiders.com, www.offshoreinsiders.com.